All right. Yeah, I missed the introduction, but here we go. So what I'd like to start with, however, is that the county put out a very interesting video the other day, which highlights what's going on countywide as far as development and industry. And it kind of leads us into why we're doing what we're doing here. So I want to briefly show that.
Welcome to Pinal County. Our county has transformed from an economy that was once primarily agriculture and mining to one that is dynamic and diversified. In recent years, Pinal County has announced projects that will create over 13,500 direct jobs and result in investment of up to $10.2 billion, covering green energy manufacturing of electric vehicles, batteries, enhanced copper mining, as well as projects in the semiconductor supply chain, building materials, and consumer goods industries. The county's prime location between California, Texas, and Mexico, and its strategic position at the crossroads of major freeways, railroads, and airports ensures great access to key markets and supply chains. Bolstered by plentiful, affordable land, Pinal County sits between two of the nation's premier public universities. The county invests in innovative workforce development partnerships with the state, our communities, and Central Arizona College. Pinal County and its cities and towns are led by business-friendly governments who continue to invest in key public infrastructure to support economic growth. Let's hear now from some of our cities and towns throughout Pinal County.
The city of Apache Junction is fast becoming the emerging epicenter of the East Valley. Why, you ask? With thousands of acres of land already zoned for employment and commercial uses located between SR 24 and US Highway 60, we are ready for new business and development. Our geographic location in the Phoenix metro area gives future business decision makers the power to access a large skilled talent pool. The quality of life that our residents experience with all of the available outdoor amenities is unparalleled.
I want to talk to you about the iPath complex. It is a 2,700 acre mega site. It's an industrial complex that currently houses Nicola and Procter & Gamble. It's rail served. It's 3 miles from I-10, and there's a lot of activity out there. The Coolidge Airport is moving along. We've added a number of businesses, E-Cube, Bright Industries. We have AIM. They've hired a number of people out at the Coolidge Airport.
The city of Eloy is becoming a manufacturing and a logistic hub for Pinal County. Here in Eloy, we're located between I-10 and Interstate 8. We're close to between two major metropolitan areas, Phoenix and Tucson. We have prime location for development. At our locations, we have truck stops that will be helping all our needs with the logistics side and distribution that's coming to our community. Not just in our community, but for here in the Pinal County area. Some of our newest industries that have come into our community is Vex Science, Owens Corning, and National Gypsum. We have so much going on within the city of Eloy.
Hi, great things are happening here in Florence. Eldorado Holdings recently purchased over 4,000 acres to build a new master plan community near Anthem, and over 700 residential lots will be completed throughout town this year. This growth has spurred new revitalization efforts. The Irish Cowboy Pub and Birds and Bones Barbecue both have revitalized buildings in our historic downtown. Also, Florence Copper is gearing up for a full-scale, environmentally friendly copper production, bringing 250 jobs to Florence and Pinal County, and critical resources to Arizona's fastest growing industries. And Florence is proud to be a hotspot for live music and regional events like Country Thunder, and of course, Junior Prada, the oldest junior rodeo in the United States.
Maricopa is a vibrant and growing community with so much to offer. With its warm climate, excellent schools, and diverse cultural scene, it's a great place to call home. Not only are we constantly ranked as one of the safest cities in the state, we're also becoming a lightning rod for some of the most exciting development opportunities in the country, including a world-class surf park and luxury motorsports club. So why not join the thousands of people who have already made the move and discover all that Maricopa has to offer?
Over the past few years, Casa Grande has become a center for innovation and technology, attracting not only the premier luxury electric vehicle company Lucid Motors, but many international companies that support the semiconductor industry. Additionally, Casa Grande is a key distribution location and hub for many large industries like Kohler, Walmart, Tractor Supply, Daisy Brands, Frito-Lay, and Abbott, just to name a few. Casa Grande has thousands of acres of flat, ready-to-be-developed industrial zone land at a much lower cost than the Phoenix metropolitan area. Add to this the excellent connectivity to Interstate 8, Interstate 10, and future Interstate 11, and not to mention the main line of the Union Pacific Railroad. It is easy to understand why so many companies are choosing to locate in Casa Grande.
Exciting things are happening here in Queen Creek. Just last year, the Arizona Department of Transportation opened the long-awaited extension of the State Route 24 all the way to Ironwood Road. Having this connectivity to the region is so important, as well as access to 1.8 million workers. Having a strong workforce for the town is so important as we continue to work with the county and with the state in this important employment corridor. In our northeast area of town is our state trust land, with the recent announcement of LG Energy Solution and a $5.5 billion investment. We are so excited about the opportunity and the possibility in this region and what it brings for our economic corridor.
Eastern Pinal County is home to several world-class copper mines. These copper mines help to fuel not only America's economy, but the world's economy. We're also home to world-class tourism destinations, such as the Boyce Thompson Arboretum, Biosphere 2, Arizona Zipline Adventures, and let's not forget our beloved Arizona Trail. Come out and have your own adventure here in Arizona's Copper Corridor, but also come and learn more about the natural resources here that are fueling America's economy.
Pinal County has developed into a key player in the global economy. We welcome you and hope you will consider joining us.
Now, we're no longer a sleepy little county, are we? And it's one of the reasons why we want to try to get ahead of it, because of all the development and stuff that's going on. But our needs and wants up here are a little bit different than in Casa Grande and some of the other areas. So that's the emphasis of why we wanted to try to develop this plan. So I'm going to start our little presentation here, but first I have to stop. All right. Share screen. Okay. There it is. So again, this is a draft. So we're here to look for your input. So there's the 3x5 card there and a pen. So make notes as we go along. We're looking for your ideas to improve the plan. So our agenda is we're going to go through some background, talk about the various phases we've gone through, the next steps, and then have some open discussion at this group. How this was developed. To go back a little bit, the very beginnings of GCCI, a group of us got involved in some local traffic issues. We thought we had those solved, but anyways, we also, our group started looking around and say, well, what else can we do? Because there are needs in this community. So the first thing we said, well, why don't we, first thing, we need to go out and ask the community what they want. So we did a survey in 2020. It was kind of low key. We did it all ourselves. We got maybe less than 400 people responding, but it gave us an idea of what the priorities are for the community. We followed that up with another survey in 2021, which the county helped us with, which reached a wider audience. We got about a response from about 10% of the total population here in Gold Canyon, which for a survey is a pretty good response rate. And actually it validated some of the information we got in the first survey. And it gave us an idea of what the overall priorities are, again, for the community. And we'll share that with you. But we also looked at the Superstition Area Land Plan developed by SALT many years ago. We also looked at the Pinal County Comprehensive Plan. We also looked at the Superstition Vistas vision and their plan. We looked at the Santan Valley Special Area Plan, and we looked at the Apache Junction General Plan. So we looked at all this information, and that's what we use to base this draft plan from. So it's not just something that we just pulled stuff out of the air. We did this. It took us 2 years to get to this point. So this basically tells you our timeline. We did the first survey, second survey. After the survey, we were figuring, well, how are we going to make all this happen? The county was really supportive of us. They gave us some grant funds. They gave us some connections to ASU, which under their urban planning department, they have another department that takes on projects for communities. And we applied for that program, and there were 42 communities that applied for their assistance. And they only picked one, and that was us, Gold Canyon. So I think that's a feather in our cap. So they went, some students at ASU took a project for a semester to look at our, basically develop a land plan, a land use plan for our area. So they looked at very high level information, and they looked at the same data that I showed you earlier before. Along the way, we had checkpoints with the county because the county is how stuff happens around here, because we are an unincorporated area. We have no authority, no government to institute anything. So most everything has to come through the county. So we worked very closely with the county in the development of this plan and shared the plan with them, because we wanted to at least have some tacit buy-in from the county, because we didn't want to develop this plan and then present it to the community and then the county say, no, we're not going to do it. We didn't want to raise people's expectations. So like I said, we've been working with the county throughout this whole process. They have the plan. They've shopped it out to their various departments, and about mid this month, they're supposed to give us some feedback, and they're going to give us their input to this plan as well. So again, a lot of the stuff that we hope to do is going to require the county. So it's important that we have their buy-in. I think we have their tacit approval for that. Like I say, that's phase 5 is getting the Pinal County review. And then we are now in phase 6, where we're working with the community to also get that development going, or the key stakeholders. Again, going back to the surveys, in May of 2020, we did a survey of about less than 400 people. And then in 21, we got about a little over 1,200 people to respond. We got some good data. The 2020 survey, these were the priorities. Again, wilderness conservation. We all moved here for the vistas, the wide open spaces. And so that came out in this survey in spades. The traffic, we all deal with the 60 and all that stuff. That was a big issue. Pollution and litter, and pollution here dealt more with noise pollution, more than atmospheric type pollution. People wanted to beautify the area. We had some perceptions of police and fire need. Infrastructure was a big issue. We need better infrastructure around here, and you'll see that's the other issues. But again, the top issues was protecting our environment. in dealing with the traffic and those kind of issues. The second survey, to no surprise, it's the same themes kept coming through. And this time we looked at people that are under 55 and those are older 55. Of course, we're an older community, but we wanted to see, is there a different generationally about the feeling of stuff? And basically, as you see, it kind of tracks the same. The younger folks in the community kind of feel the same way. And that's probably why they're moving here too. All right, so some of the executive summary issues of the plan is quality of life is a prime motivator and driver of our plan. We enjoy the scenery, the amenities, and the recreational opportunities because we're a retirement community, but we're an active retirement people. You go out around here and you see people walking, riding bikes, golfing, whatever. I mean, this is a very active community. We don't want any uncontrolled development, and we're not naive in this report that says we know development is coming, but what we want to try to do in this plan, and the reason for the plan, is try to get ahead of that development, to make sure we have the infrastructure in place to deal with it, to make sure development meets the needs of the community, protecting our open spaces and that kind of thing. We don't want large tracts of, we want large tracts of open space and low environmental impacts for any kind of development. And we want that north of the 60, south of the 60, have at it. But we want north of the 60 to be pretty much like what we have right now. Growth should not continue unless we fix the traffic issues, unless we have a better transportation and circulation system. That's going to be key. And again, industry, major commercial, south of the 60, along the SR 24 and along the north-south corridor. That's where we want that kind of development to be. We want our area to be known for recreation, ecotourism, and have small business as our core economic drivers around here. Now, this is the kind of the area plan that we want to try to encompass. Now, up here is the core Gold Canyon. This is the core, and this is Peralta Trail, Peralta Canyon. Down here is Entrada del Oro. But we wanted to include more of just the core Gold Canyon area, because whatever happens in this area is all going to funnel into the 60. That's the main core of what ties us all together. So we have to be cognizant of what happens in that area. So the plan kind of deals with that specific area. As you saw in the video, we have coming the north-south corridor. You've got 24 that's going to eventually punch through to the 60, and then you've got Apache Junction, which is up here, but their plan is basically to wrap around Gold Canyon and probably fill in this little triangular stuff here. So we'd like to have a voice in what happens there. Now, this is the table of contents of the plan. I just talked about the executive summary. I'm going to talk briefly about the community profile, and then Isabel's going to talk about the conservation natural resources. Dale's going to talk about the parks and rec. Terry's going to take chapters 4, 5, and 6.
Just 4.
4 and 5?
Yeah. I could take 4 and 5. Sure.
Okay. And then we talk a little bit about public safety, the circulation issues, utilities, the growth and land use areas, and then the kind of cooperation that we have to deal with as far as working the plan. So the community profile, pretty interesting. I don't know if everybody's read the book Sand in My Shoes. But that's a couple moved out here from New Jersey, I believe. in the right after the war, World War II. And
47.
well, they set up their ranch in 47, but they were here a couple of years before that. And they built it from scratch, and they built, as far as I can tell from the book, and I think their place was up around the Cloudview area. And if you take Kings Ranch Road and you take that road that kind of winds up through there, they actually built that road by hand. And their whole thing was they wanted a guest ranch to invite people because they love the Superstition Mountain. They like the outdoors and the hiking and all that stuff. And they wanted to share that with people. So they built some cottages, and people came out in the 40s, if you can imagine driving out here in that period of time, just to come out and spend a week or so out at their guest ranch. And that's kind of what we want, isn't it? That's kind of the ecotourism and the stuff that we kind of want to generate here. And so that's kind of in our DNA here in Gold Canyon. So again, why people moved here, again, the scenery, the climate, all those kind of things. And of course, the age range, we're an older community. But just from hanging around the grocery store lately, I'm seeing a lot more young people with kids. So I think the Peralta Canyon area, there are a lot of young families coming in. So I think that our demographics are changing. So we're going to have to consider that too, because and this data came, what 2 years ago. So things change. I think we're a pretty high level educated group. Again, we're mostly adults and very few houses with children at the time of this study was done. We also have one of the highest median incomes in the state as well, which doesn't help us going for grants. But anyways, okay, you want to talk about conservation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the profile, everyone. We came up with this plan. They summarized it very, very beautifully. Because we wanted to formulate a vision for the future of Gold Canyon. We wanted to have something that we could refer to and say, this is what most people, or many people in Gold Canyon are behind. And that's kind of what we would recommend to drive whatever growth befalls us, if I may phrase it that way, okay? Because growth is going to come. It's not very realistic to think that you can sit here and just hope that nothing is going to happen if we love the way of life that we have here. So this is why we come up with this plan. As many of you know, there are lots of communities. All communities that are incorporated have a plan. As a matter of fact, if we ever wanted to become incorporated, it would behoove us to have a plan ready that could then maybe even be amended or whatever. But it's a good base document for any type of community. And you've seen the video that we watched at the beginning of the session. And so some of you might embrace this, the enthusiasm that comes with all the industrial development that we've seen here. But I think most of us, as we can glean from the surveys, kind of want to preserve the way of life that we have here. We have some very unique assets, environmental assets, and we would like to keep them the way they are, right? And this is where conservation comes in, everyone. And this is what chapter 2 of this plan is about, and what a lot of the thinking that influenced later chapters is about too. We're trying to use conservation as a guiding principle for everything else. So you see little elements of conservation sprinkled into other chapters also. So there's not just one chapter so that you can see that can say we did it. In fact, it's a guiding principle. And I was tasked to write this. And I was just thinking, okay, I'm not the first one to think about conservation here. And the one organization that everybody who's been here for a while knows, that is represented by Charlie Goff, who's sitting here right in that corner, is SALT. SALT stands for Superstition Area Land Trust. And SALT came up with a land plan 20 years ago. over 20 years ago. And I was basically using much, I would say 80% at least of the salt information to repackage that information and put it into this chapter, okay? Because it's good information. I think it needs to be revisited. So, you know, like a 20-year-old plan that kind of ends up in somebody's drawer, you know, I'm sure 20 years ago, people talked a lot about it, but I thought it would be a good thing to remind people of its existence. And I can summarize it very quickly for you. If you're not familiar with it, it basically says that over half of the study area then, which includes Gold Canyon, but is actually much larger than Gold Canyon, over half of it is worthy of conservation and meets all the criteria that the Arizona State Trust Department, Arizona State Land Department sets forth for the trust land. And you know that we're surrounded by trust land, and we're dealing with the Arizona State Land Department. And just so that you know, all of the criteria are being met. Okay, so this is what the chapter is about, basically. It shows what the assets are that we have. There are numerous. And then it shows some goals. And maybe we have on the next slide those goals. And I have to say, all of these goals are also followed by very specific policy suggestions. Okay, so it's not just those goals, it's also very specific suggestions on how to achieve those goals. Okay, the first one, first and foremost, protect Gold Canyon's unique environmental assets. I don't have to tell you what they are. They're probably the reason why most of you moved out here. It is astounding, and they're very unique. So if you go south to, say, Queen Creek, you don't have the same environmental assets that we do here. So I believe their uniqueness very much warrants that we actively try to protect them. And we're not protecting them by building lots of factories at the base of the Superstition Mountains. Okay, so that would very much spoil for many of us the idea of the wilderness out here. So the goal number 2 would be to preserve the biodiversity of the area. We have very, very unique, how do you say that, ecosystems here that, that deserve protection. Whenever we are flattening land to build whatever on it, we are destroying the habitat of desert tortoises. We are, you know, mindlessly, we're not looking at the bat population in our area. So we need to think about those things. And in my mind, they are an asset. Lots of people come here. We have bird watchers, which, by the way, is a growing economy here in the state, bird watching. There are people coming to Arizona to go on bird watching tours. And we have how many different, it's actually in here, I did a lot of extra research, and we have people in the community who shared their resources. We have like over 200 or so different bird species here in Gold Canyon. So let's acknowledge those and let's protect those, okay? So again, all of these goals are followed by very specific policy suggestions. I've pretty much already talked about the third goal. You know, sometimes here, so I'm a former teacher, and so repetition oftentimes helps to drive a certain point home. Okay, so yes, there is repetitive information in this chapter, but it's so for a reason, because I really wanted everybody to not just browse through it, but if they browse, you know, find in different places that this is important. So the third goal is about conserving existing habitat. We create habitat where it's been destroyed. For example, you know, like a year ago, we went out to Entrada del Oro and looked at some of the new housing development there. And we noticed what they do there. You know, they bring in the bulldozers and they go over the land, and there's lots of plants that are being disturbed. From saguaros, which, you know, then ended up being moved to other places, but also what's it called? what's the little cactus called? The hedgehog cactus, exactly. So we got a few organizations together and we went out there and asked my husband, he did the digging, you know, so I said, okay, we went out there, but my husband did lots of the digging. We dug out these little cacti and transplanted them because otherwise they would have been just destroyed, okay? It's stuff like that that I believe that we need to pay closer attention to. Goal number 4 is protect the dark skies, everyone, and that's a cause very dear to my heart. I don't want to, you know, I could talk for hours about this, but right now I just want to say this. We have in Pinal County a very nice lighting ordinance. That ordinance is being revised to make it even better. It's in the process of doing that. We here in Gold Canyon are mostly in lighting zone 1 of this ordinance. We have some sprinkles in our community that are lighting zone 2. There is zone 1 is low light and zone 2 is medium light. We here at GCCI are in the process of applying for protected status, meaning that we want to be an official dark sky community. We have to do this with the International Dark Sky Association. It's very, very difficult. Let's just put it this way. We've done a lot of footwork doing it. We are getting ready to actually apply officially. Okay, we've done all our talking with the association, so now it's showtime, and we will contact those of you who are on our dark sky emailing list for help very, very soon. Okay, for over the summer probably. So look out for emails. So dark sky obviously is a big part in this. The 5th goal, encourage low impact development. Those of you who are in the building industry, you know that term. It's a relatively new term, but we have more and more people across the country, builders across the country that are actually following these very particular guidelines for the lowest possible impact of building. Impact on the environment, that is. And we have in Scottsdale a really nice model, actually, a set of ordinances that prescribes what exactly can be done, how people can build in terms of, you know, if you build a new neighborhood, the Scottsdale model says you cannot build over the washes. You have to keep the washes intact. You have to keep very generous buffer zones of natural areas. Okay, and when you go to North Scottsdale and you drive through those areas, you see what they did. Okay, because you can't even see the developments there. They're set back from the road, and when you drive through them, you see all the natural areas in between. So they really made an effort, which was made possible through a set of ordinances that actually conserved a lot of the land there. So it is possible. We just need to pay attention to how we're going to do it. Let's see. Number 6, support sustainable growth that minimizes, again, the impact on environmental quality and human health. Can you see the repetition here? So oftentimes I kind of just rephrase things, but all of those are followed by very specific sets of policies that would make this possible. The 7th one, reduce the amount of solid waste and minimize illegal dumping. Have you ever seen an illegal dumping site, everyone? So if you walk out in the desert, you'll see them. They are ugly, and they are there because you know, some people are just thoughtless, and other people just don't know where to go or don't have the money to pay to dump their garbage that they can't otherwise get rid of. Okay, so there are ways to address this, and so let's address it. And the 8th one was dear to my heart, and that actually is totally copied from the Apache Junction plan. Okay, they formulated it so nicely. I thought we need to have that in our plan also. Protect the irreplaceable legendary landscapes and lifestyle of the community and the region. Can't say it any better. That's what we want, everyone. And we don't want our natural lands and open spaces plastered with industrial development. Okay, so that's the message here. So rather, we would like to be oriented towards a very, very strong conservation approach. That's what this chapter is about. If you ever wanted to know anything about the ecosystems and the protected species and so on, just have a look at that chapter because it's all listed in there. Okay. All right. On to number 3.
Okay.
Parks and recreation. One of the things that Isabel was talking about, dark skies, and it reminded me of, I brought my 28-year-old son down here a few years ago to a boys' weekend down here. We were just we're owners down here, but weren't permanent residents. And our plane was delayed, got in late. We didn't get to our condominium till about 1 a.m. and we stepped out of the van ride that we took to the condo. Took about 3 steps. My son says, "Wait a minute." And he looked up and he said, I've never seen the Milky Way like this. We stood out there for about 20 minutes and he just admired the skies. And that's super, super important. That just hit me when she was talking about that. Parks and recreation. Well, you saw the survey results and outdoor activities, trails, hiking, biking, walking, outdoor activities were very high on the value list of our residents that we surveyed. So that's what this chapter is about. We'll go to the goals. Our goals: develop, and it really should be, and we're going to modify this, develop and maintain a system of parks, trails, and open space recreation areas to meet exercise and health needs of Gold Canyon residents and visitors. So what we want to do is maintain what we have, because we do have a beautiful system of trails and outdoor activity areas in Gold Canyon, in the county lands and the county facilities around us, and state facilities and state lands. So we want to maintain that, and we want to further develop our trail system, because when you develop trails oriented around hiking and those sort of things, it's also a preservation type activity, because those areas become needed and used for those kind of activities, and really pushes aside other activities that like development, those sort of things. So we want to do that. Take a leadership role for Gold Canyon for parks and recreation opportunities. What that really means is networking with our stakeholders, networking with our government agencies, the county, the cities, AJ, the city of AJ, the county, the state, the network for Arizona Trails we're involved with, and support their activities, lend labor and resources where they need them to help make them happen. A good example of that is we just developed and got signed a volunteer agreement with Pinal County so that we can go out and do volunteer work in the parks and other county facilities and support them and give them some relief and give them added manpower for cleanups, activities, invasive weed control, and those sort of things. So that's our second goal. The third goal is promote parks and rec system as quality of life asset. Now, maybe some people don't want to attract more residents, but we are getting residents who are coming here for the same reasons we did, and that's they like the outdoors. They like those kind of activities. And in fact, I just had a neighbor move in, and I went down and introduced myself to them. And the first thing they asked is, where can we go hike around? What are the best trails? So we want to support our existing residents, visitors, and new residents with the kind of things that make this a wonderful place to move to and live. And the fourth goal is funding sources to develop and maximize parks and rec type programs and amenities within our community. We have been involved in some programs already. We had a stargazing event out at the new Peralta Regional Park. We want to continue those sort of things. One of our members is running some snake aversion training and that sort of thing. So we want to have not just physical facilities developing there, but also programs, and that falls into the eco tourism and other activities like that make this a better place to live.
Okay. Here.
Neighborhoods and housing, you're going to hear a common theme and thread through all of our presentations and the chapters is quality of life. I think all of us have moved here because of the quality of life. Housing and communities that we have in our community, in our Gold Canyon, is really the heart. It makes up the vast majority of the land space of Gold Canyon is communities and neighborhoods. I was really, everybody here mentioning what community they live in. We're well represented here, from our newest communities, Peralta Canyon, our Superstition Foothills, doing a great job of the foothills and trails that wind within, and many in between. So Gold Canyon is made up of mainly homeowner association communities and neighborhoods, 26, 27 to be exact, with our newest Peralta Canyon. And we also have areas that are non-HOA. So Golden Springs to the east of Kings Ranch Road, it's one of our oldest neighborhoods, and that Mesa del Oro, which has acreage and horse privileges, and north of Baseline following Kings Ranch Road, which, if you haven't been up there in a while, follow the path and you'll see new housings, new custom homes on bunny ears for that back country north of Cloudview yet, that you will see new homes being sold and developed there behind the Superstition Mountain Golf Resort. So what does that all mean to us in our community plan? We need to make sure we have a really good plan. So we grow responsibility in our housing developments to make sure we maintain and preserve our conservation areas. We preserve our parks and trails, which is the whole heart of why we are in Gold Canyon. Dark Skies plays into that. So we want to make sure that this broad community plan doesn't interrupt the feel of the neighborhoods, but we want to make it cohesive so that we're all following the same direction. And then that way, as new developments come in, we can go ahead and share with those developers the community plan to ensure that that development maintains all these key core priorities within the community plan. Entrada del Oro is growing, right? So we have Richmond American and D.R. Horton ready to announce, lots that they will be putting out in those areas. So those all places we have the growth. I talked about the custom homes, but we also have opportunity in between that may come between Peralta and Entrada. Arizona trust land that's yet to be sold, and we want to preserve that land. So if housing development come in there, we have a solid goals in mind and our developers adhere to it. So let's go to the goals. Maintain single family residence feel to preserve Gold Canyon character. That is paramount to why we moved here. I know we all can look up and see stars. We heard that story. One of the reasons my husband and I bought our house 10 years ago in Gold Canyon is we stood out on the patio and we looked up, and I still stand there at night today in that same spot and see the Dipper. And it was so clear and beautiful. That is what keeps our home values higher than other areas, surrounding areas, because of the natural setting and rural feel of our community, access to park and trails. So we definitely want to ensure that we preserve the character of our community. No development or structures on Superstition Foothills. We want to maintain our trail areas. We want to make sure that we have access for quality of life. That's a prominent point. Minimize new housing master plan communities in large salt conservation areas. So you see there, we need to make sure that our conservation areas stay that. So down below the Superstition Mountain, we're talking about an area between Peralta and Entrada. So, we all remember when we had a factory try to come in there and we saw different various versions. Fortunately, they moved on, right? But this is why we want to get this community plan in place. It's critical because we got a lot of Arizona trust land around us that's ripe for development. So we want to make sure we have a good set goals that people can follow. No zoning or medium high density development, 0 lot line communities. So meaning we do have Tesoro is a beautiful townhome community. For example, Toscana Villas along Kings Ranch Road. So what we mean is, as far as tract housing communities with little thought about the recreational area around it. So how we can go ahead and have a minimum, square footage of lot for single family residents. We do have a good mix of townhomes. We got Mountain Brook, our 55+ community. We got exclusive over $1 million homes behind the gates in Superstition Mountain Golf Resort. We really have something for everybody here in Gold Canyon, and we want to maintain that and provide large buffer zones to protect the neighborhood views. This is critical. We hear it every day. People buy their homes for the views, right? And so we want to make sure that we have a plan in place to help protect that. So how can we make sure we have responsible growth that has a positive impact on our neighborhood and housing, which is the core of why we live here in our quality of life? That's going to tie into the business development. Quality of life, right? We need to ensure, where is the business district? I just asked that question for Gold Canyon. What do you think of? If I say, where is the business district in Gold Canyon, what might come to mind?
Kings Ranch.
Kings Ranch Road, right? Gold Stallion. You can all envision going there. We have, the executive suites, June's business is there, our dentistry, but then we also have different other pockets as well too. So we are widely represented in our businesses by having something for everybody. You can find a doctor here, right? You can find dentists here. You can get your glasses here. You can have urgent care now is here. You can get gas here. And you can get every cuisine in a mom and pop restaurant here, whether your fancy is pizza at Rosati's, or you want to go and hear some entertainment at Wahoo's. You want to get something at Jen's Bakery, and don't forget the ice cream at Oldie's or some coffee at the Bomb Brew. We have it all represented. We also need to ensure, though, as we grow, as housing grows, what are people asking for, right? I want to have accessibility to shopping, to businesses, to doctors, to all those things. And then I need gas in my car to get there, right? So it's about responsible growth. How do we take kind of an eclectic business district now, right? And we have other areas of businesses. And how do we ensure that we have a viable plan to help us grow responsibility, not only in the type of business, but a brand of Gold Canyon, right? What we want is to ensure that the look and the feel. So even talking about some areas of restoration. So when a business is opened, we have a look and feel that it isn't just hodgepodge, right? So that's part of what we want to have in a master business plan, to talk about development, how it looks, where's the business district, to really attract people, continue to attract here for tourism that we have, and also maintaining and preserving our community. Let's go ahead and go to the goals. Oh, the survey first. So this was a survey done to look at what was important for quality of life and from the businesses in Gold Canyon. So as you can see, restaurants, right? That's why we see a lot of cars at our restaurants, which is great. Retail stores, medical, all these I really mentioned, personal services, a community center, something we'd love to get grant funding for. We definitely need, and I know that's a hot goal of June as the chair of the Community Relations Committee. So, and energy protection. So we have right now, if you haven't heard, Maverick is planning on being built across from Walgreens. How does that tie into transportation, right? So all those things in this master plan to help with new businesses coming in. We have outside of Entrada del Oro on the corner of 60 and El Camino. There is a plan being in front of Pinal County for RV storage. It's all governed by the county right now. So we want to make sure our voice is heard. to make sure we can help direct any type of future development. Land just went up for sale just west of that on the 60, north of the 60. It's zoned now for single housing. However,
Is that east?
Yeah, east of it. Yep, that's correct. Thank you. East of El Camino, but north of the 60. So the north is the 60 are the areas that we are most concerned about. We do have our neighbors across the south that are part of Gold Canyon, our RV resorts that are very much a part of our thriving community, Montesa, the Roberts community, Gold Canyon, and then we have our Canyon Vistas. So, and soon to have the Neon RV resort near the 79. So all this you can see is happening around us. We need a very sustainable growth plan in place to keep the look and feel and the quality life, attract tourism because we need that economic development, but all while attracting businesses that fit our footprint, our housing, and fit the voice of our residents here. Let's go to our goals if you don't mind. So our goals for business development is a downtown master plan. So really about our existing businesses, but as we have, you see the for sale signs up along Kings Ranch Road, you know, so as new businesses come in, what are the key character that we want these new businesses and what type of businesses do we want to attract? Tourist strategy for Gold Canyon, create a main street along Kings Ranch Road. So we're looking at in the future, and Dave had thought of this, and which is a great, you know, a restoration project. You know, how do we, some businesses may need some beautification along the path of Kings Ranch Road. In addition to that, development opportunities, we talked about infill, so that land that's for sale, those pockets of land, what's going in there, and then provide a balance of land uses and attract a good mix, a diverse mix of businesses that services our community well. So I'll turn it over to Dave for the next chapter.
Okay, sustainable economic development. And by that we mean we have, as these slides show, we have a lot of small businesses in here, and this is what we want to encourage. We don't want a lot of chain stuff. We want small mom and pops type stuff. But for these businesses to be sustainable, they can't survive just with the people that live here. That's why we need to encourage some other kind of economic engine that would bring people here that come here to visit us, spend their money, but then they go home. Okay, but that will help our local small businesses do that, because especially this time of year, when maybe 30% of the people are gone, it's very tough for these small businesses around here to survive. So we need to come up with ways to encourage other businesses to come here to take advantage of our recreational opportunities or nature activities and that kind of stuff. So that's what we mean by sustainable economic development. We don't necessarily want a Walmart here or a big box store. We want small businesses, and we want people to come here to enjoy our vistas and our trails and that kind of stuff. But then, like I said, go home, but leave their money here and help our businesses. So that's basically what we're talking about. So we want to attract, promote diverse business. And again, small businesses is what we're really looking for. And that's going to take a plan that hopefully we can work with the county's community development group to help us develop a plan. I mean, they go down to Casa Grande and develop these plans for all the industry and stuff down there. Can they come up here and help us, use our assets to develop some kind of economic strategy? So that's the kind of thing we need to work with. And I think the county will help us with that. Again, we want to go with maybe have another resort here, ecotourism, bird watching stuff. We need to get the word out about our environment so we can attract people here. And we do get a lot of people out here, especially around the Renaissance Festival. We get a lot of people that come out here. And just, I think we've had a lot of people move out here because when they came out here for the Renaissance, they said, oh, this is a nice place. Let's move here. So, you know, that attracts people here. And that's the kind of thing that we want. So I don't have to read all this stuff here because I know we're running late. And one thing we probably need to do is look into some branding of our community, because Superior did a big branding exercise several years ago, and that's been very successful for their tourism type of businesses in Superior. So that's something we might want to think that in the plan is to work with the people there. What's our brand? What are we selling here? What is, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's a part of what we need to be doing. Okay, next chapter, public safety. I think we're doing pretty well. We have I think a world-class fire department. That they're very responsive. Thank you, Mr. House. Yes.
And we had a fire in one of them was in Trout this morning.
Ooh.
And we're the furthest out development within encompass within what's considered Gold Canyon, and the fire department and law enforcement was there within 10 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
And you thought it was a pretty good response.
Yeah,
considering we're a little bit remote.
Yeah, I think there's all sorts of kudos for the fire department. And we have a sheriff's substation here. It's lightly staffed.
Oh, that would be a good thing with the low crime rate.
but we do have a cadre of local volunteers that work with the sheriff's department to help patrol the area. So I think we're doing fairly well as far as that. We could probably use some more sheriff's attention, but we're doing pretty good. So anyway, so I think we're doing pretty good in those areas specifically. I'm not sure why this is in this chapter, but we do have a very strong art and cultural community. We have a really good elementary school. I think it's a B-rated school. I mean, it's coming up. And of course, the unsanitary health issues with the state land of all the people working out in the desert and living. So we have that kind of issue that we have to deal with. And I know the county's working with that as well. Okay, circulation gets into the transportation area. We have these 4 major intersections here. You've got Superstition Mountain, Mountain Brook, Kings Ranch, and Peralta along the 60. Our transportation committee has been working with ADOT quite a bit to try to help extend turn lanes and do some other things. This area here with the north-south corridor that's coming in, and the 24, we talked about it earlier, but that's going to be a major transportation issue coming to our area. This, you know, we've on the books, there's been a bypass that comes around right around in this area. It was proposed, but never got any funding. But I think this may be our bypass, especially with that's going to come out east of the Renaissance. So hopefully a lot of the Renaissance traffic will come this way across and come in from that way and avoid the 60. So it's probably 20 years down the line, but at least people are working on it. And the last I heard is I think the right-of-way was purchased, or the county has money to purchase that. So that's getting the right-of-way is the first thing you got to do. So it's in the works. again, for some of our goals, it's pretty simple. We need to identify and prioritize our transportation projects. And right now, the county has, there's two transportation major studies going on. One by MAG, which is the Maricopa Area Government, and Supervision Vista study. And so there's a lot of studying going on, especially in this area right here. So at least it's being looked at now, and we've been really focused on that with the county, saying, you know, we need to get the transportation infrastructure done. We don't want to have Santan Valley and the Hunt Highway issues. In fact, we've worked closely with the Santan Valley. There's another group like ours at Santan Valley, and they're just amazed at what we've been able to accomplish so far. And they're really kind of jealous, saying, boy, we wish we would have tried to get ahead of the game before all the development had. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get ahead of all the stuff that we know that's trying to come and have a seat at the table.
And I think that's important to note, and Dave is being on this. Jerry and Dave go to the meetings. I mean, they're in front of Pinal County. So this isn't, Jerry isn't here right now. He's always on top of the transportation. He's the vice president. And so I think it's more than just putting words on a page. It's important to know that the time that Jerry and Dave dedicate to transportation, and Jerry and you're Greg, you're on the transportation committee. And so the amount of time that's spent reviewing this information, am I right?
Yeah. Jerry and his team have they attend a lot of the ADOT meetings, and it's the greasy wheel type thing. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's happened on the 60s wouldn't have happened unless that committee was going to those meetings and saying, hey, we need help here. And we do have resources here too, in a retirement community. We have a gentleman that's on the transportation committee that used to be in the Michigan transportation department, similar to ADOT, but he was high up in that. And he can look at the plans and saying, why did they do that? And so he can talk their language, and that really helps us. So anyways, going on to utilities, not much to say there, but except that these are all the utilities that kind of service our community. Not much we can do about that. Although, again, Jerry was very active, and when Liberty Utilities wanted to raise their rates, and he and did you work on that with me?
Yes.
Yeah. We're very instrumental in helping get the rates down. Okay. Yeah. And similar things are happening with the water company. They want to raise their rates. So Jerry's getting in the middle of that. So we're not, our organization, not sitting around waiting for this stuff. I mean, if we see something happening, we're trying to get in front of it. But again, it all goes to the plan. That would help us if we had a real concrete plan. But anyways, we do have some pretty good utilities here. We don't have to go through that too much. As far as the water goes, like Dick said, we are partnering with the Arizona Water Company, putting in a water conservation program in Gold Canyon. So we're already active in a lot of this kind of stuff. And again, one thing that came out in the surveys, we don't want any solar farms here. We don't want any wind turbines here. So, we want that to be part of the stipulation in the plan. Now, the growth area and is pretty much, like we said, is the north of the 60 here. Excuse me. And this part of the plan is getting into the ASU study. And they came up with several scenarios. And a lot of the different colors here are the basic zoning codes. But what we suggested and what we would like to do is try to preserve as much of this area as possible. And we really, and what Isabel was talking about here, these major washes, we want to try to make sure that's identified in the plan that we'd like to see some buffer zones on those, and for any development to happen here to be respectful of those, because those are wildlife corridors. They're also major ways that the water drains off the Superstition Mountain. I mean, if you look everything south of 60, I mean, that's a floodplain, folks, and it all comes off of the mountain. So we want to be respectful of that and make sure to avoid flooding issues. And we may be able to use that down here in the plan, that this is like a water feature. Maybe we could capture some of that water as it drains off and create a little park down there with the water features. I don't know. This is just futuristic land use ideas. Some more specifics on growth. We're talking about this here is the north-south parkway or freeway or whatever it's called. This is I think this is Kings Ranch Road. So I think that's Ray Road that connects with that.
Yeah, Ray Road's
So-
going to be coming into.
Yeah, so one of Ray Road or
Yep.
Ray Road will be coming.
oh,
in.
Elliott. This is Elliott.
Oh, up
No.
there.
Yeah, I think
I think it's Ray,
no,
but
Ray, this is Peralta. Ray comes into Peralta.
Yes.
yeah.
But Elliott, I think, is kind of lined up to come into Kings Ranch Road. So eventually, and we're probably talking about 30, 40 years from now, there's going to be those kind of connections. So what we would envision and hope for is we take our core business district, like right along Kings Ranch Road, and extend it instead of going north towards the resort and that kind of stuff. You know, have it move south, and that's where we can have more business activity and restaurants and stuff down there. So that's just a concept that came out of the ASU study. And again, east of the Renaissance Festival here, there's plans. That's where the 24 is going to come in, and I think as far as Superstition Vistas, I mean, that there's a town center already planned for that area. So we envision that there would be some businesses along that corridor there. And that's, in this road here would be funnel into the Renaissance Fair from 724.
I think the important part about this chapter is overarching. So, you know, not only our growth in our business area and south of the 60, north of the 60, but also about our Arizona trust land that we have. You know, so what is our overarching responsible growth for our community? So those are things that this plan takes into account. How many residents do you think are permanent residents? What's our population? Does anybody know?
12,000.
Oh, I know, you know,
You
Dave.
know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or
Ding, ding.
11,000.
Yeah, the 2020 census has it as 11,875
Wow.
permanent residents. So those are people that did, so, yeah, but winter visitor time, right? We double that. So, but this chapter really takes it from a broader perspective, as Dave outlined in the maps there, because that's important to us, not only within Gold Canyon, but what's happening south of the 60, because that impacts the transportation. So growth of the surrounding area, besides internally in our housing and our business district, is all critical for impact to Gold Canyon tourism and our way of life and quality of life here. So I think that was an important piece of this chapter when we developed it, was to look at an overarching growth plan for Gold Canyon.
Yeah, and we don't want a lot of sprawl. We want to infill whenever we can, especially in the commercial corridor here in Kings Ranch. There's still a lot of commercial property that's vacant. So let's fill that in rather than spread out. So that's what we want to do. Okay, land use summary.
Isabel's gonna cover
Oh,
that.
oh, you want to do this?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can very briefly talk about this. So the chapter 11 is the result of our phase 2 work with the Arizona Arizona State University professor with whom we kind of developed a vision for land use. And I can tell you it was months of weekly meetings, Friday afternoons. Dave and Jerry and I were pleading with the professor who had his own ideas, but we kind of put our foot down. He produced two scenarios for us, only one of which we thought was feasible. So the first one, which is not included in this plan, was very much development focused, and we wanted hours that we thought fit with the overall community plan to be more conservation focused. So we have again this overarching goal of having a very clear focus on conservation. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It doesn't look much to you when you look at it, but all those green areas, the light green areas, that's what we negotiated as larger than normal buffer zones. Okay, where nothing can be built and they're along the wall. And we made sure that we don't go too close to the mountains. So we negotiated the residential development areas to be the lowest possible, namely, I think what was it, like one house per acre, one housing unit per acre. Okay, so we wanted to keep that very loose kind of rural, semi-rural feel in that. So when you go to the next one, which we have, you see very much the first goal is very much again focus on long-term sustainability, and we're really talking long-term here. This is not going to happen within the next 5 years. Okay, so we're talking like 30 years, 50 years maybe. Okay, but it's a vision that looks at possible development and tries to keep the focus on sustainability. The next focus would be to foster a sense of community. And we all know that there are ways to do that, connectivity of trails and so on, connectivity between neighborhoods. So that's what we were talking about in this chapter. Let's see, the fourth one, I forgot to talk about the second one, again, conservation. Remember, repetition makes it stick in people's heads, right? So the fourth goal is about broadening economic opportunity. But again, we want to keep the rural characteristics. We want to keep it small. We want to keep it in line with what we already have. So we have these small farms out here. That's the kind of business that we would like to attract. Okay, so we're not thinking big box business. And then the last one, really important, improve and expand the infrastructure and utilities and services in a proactive manner, because this is our whole idea of having a community plan, everyone. We can sit here and wait until somebody proposes yet another industrial project, and then we react to that. Or we can be proactive and say, okay, this is our vision, please take our vision into consideration, okay? And we find the people at the county actually quite amenable to this. So these are good people, you know, when you talk with them, you tell them what you want, they listen. They can't promise if they, you know, to follow every single one of our suggestions, but we find them rather open, actually. And we're thinking, okay, better this way, formulating the vision, communicating it, hoping that that it will define future growth rather than sitting here and waiting and being reactive.
Okay. Last chapter is regional cooperation. And we're already doing a lot of this. We've got relationships with Apache Junction, Superior, of course, the county, the utilities, and a lot of these alphabet soup organizations from the state. But this is, to make this happen, we're going to have to work with all these entities. And again, the county is very helpful in making us, giving us introduction to a lot of this stuff. And again, we want to protect our landscapes and lifestyle, and we need to collaborate and communicate with our surrounding communities. especially Apache Junction. I mean, they've got their own agenda and it may not be copacetic to our agenda, but we need to work with them. And actually, you know, we've been working with their Parks and Recs department and being, you know, finding them very cooperative, and especially in the dark skies, we're working with them on that too. So there's coordination that we can do. So we're going to have to. We can't do it all ourselves. And a lot of our problems are all regional, so we all have to work together, anyways. So our next steps, again, we're kind of waiting for the county to give us their feedback on the plan. We want to talk to the more stakeholders in the community. We've talked to some individuals like Roberta. We've shared the plan with her, and she's given us some input. We're having discussions with Adobe and the Chamber of Commerce. They have the plan. They're going to give us their feedback. So. And there's, because of a lot of people gone, we're not planning a lot of community meetings. We'll probably do that in the fall, but during the summer, we have plans to meet with local businesses, the faith communities, you know, the people that are here, the entities that are here, like the Rotary Club and that kind of stuff. So we're going to be making those kind of outreaches and trying to get as much feedback as we can on the plan. And these are the stakeholders that we're going to be working with. And that's about it. So I will stop sharing. And I know we're
very late.
We're running late, but we wanted to get everything out there. So any comments? Yes.
I'd just like to say really quickly about I don't know how many folks have been here, how often, how much, but for those of you that haven't, this community participation does have a high impact. It's not always right away, but the relationships that are built, the attention that's being paid grows, and the work that the state committee and GCCI and Adobe are doing with the county does have an impact. The real concrete example that I can point to is what we recently did with the ACC Commission and the sewer utility rate. Was they were originally coming in and asking for something like a 30–50% increase, and through participation and negotiation over many months, out of education, Jerry probably did. He did the heavy lifting. I kind of was a cheerleader, but we got them to agree to a much smaller increase for anybody, and some folks even got a reduction because we were able to point out things that just weren't fair.
Right.
So worked the way they should have been in the first place. So it was a much smaller increase than anticipated, and some folks got a decrease. So it was very much a successful effort, and that was only because we signed up and did paperwork and did the research and the meetings, and the company ended up saying, "All right, let's work on this." And we came to an agreement with the company. We didn't have to go to litigation about the commission. Big successful.
It was glad. Thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jerry did.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
The packet that you guys are referring to, is that going to be online or somehow available?
Well, I've got a limited amount of copies here. I don't think I have enough for everybody, but if anybody would really like to have it, and if you want to get into the meat of it and give us comments, I'd be happy to give you one.
So are you guys not going to make it available online then?
Eventually,
Yeah,
well,
eventually.
yeah,
We still
eventually.
have to.
What we want to do is we want to get the comments from the county and make sure everything's copacetic there. Because again, we don't want to raise false expectations to the community. I mean, if the county's not going to support it, you know, we're going to be pushing a rock up the hill. So when we get a little bit better draft, we'll put that probably in the fall. When we start having community meetings, we'll put it on our website and say, okay, here it is, folks, let's, fire away. But we do have hard copies here, if you'd like one, we're going to share that with you.
That'd be cool. So David, GCTI gonna go to Pinal Partnership meetings, or are you currently attending?
Yeah,
Pinal
yeah,
Partnership?
yeah, you go.
Good,
You
good.
go.
Because I can tell you right now that the developers in the area are gonna really take a big issue with the dark skies and the widened areas. Although in Frog the Canyon, we did manage to keep the washes untouched in that general area. So that was part of the prerequisite of making that development, was not to touch the washes. Because we saw like the problems with interfering with washes and natural draining in the area, so you were able to get that done.
Yeah.
But Dark Sky Oracle got their certification.
The Oracle Park.
Yeah.
Park.
Mhm.
State
State
park.
park, yes.
State park.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have a blueprint for you. You can talk-
Oh, yeah, we're
Yeah,
talking
we're
with them.
good, good.
We're working with them,
contact,
and actually the town or the, whatever, they're unincorporated too.
Right,
Oracle,
that's right.
The town of Oracle is going for certification as well now.
Okay, yeah, because they worked really hard a lot of years,
Oh, yeah.
and they had to basically tell developers that they couldn't do anything in their area. They would rather do without development than have the light. They would rather be without it. So that might be a situation that may come local.
Well,
Thanks for the warning, but we are, we also have an advantage that the Palo Alto Regional Park is going for certification also.
Yeah.
So they have a good interest also, so
we made
we're
that-
combining interests here,
We made it that way because of community input. They
Yep.
didn't want any lights, they wanted it
Yep.
primitive, they
Yep.
wanted dark skies.
Yep.
and all that. We
Exactly.
did talk to the astronomy group, the location of the stargazing is the wrong one, they're gonna. come up with a new one.
oh, good,
Yep.
good, yeah,
We
yeah,
noticed also, yep.
we found out we had our stargating part of that.
Yeah.
It's set in the.
We didn't
bowl.
use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'd like to just ask of the group, what's your first reaction? Just give us, maybe the top two things you're thinking as you think of the community plan. There's a lot of information there, we certainly understand. But I'd love to hear if there's anything that stands out that we're missing in your mind. And then also about, any key area that you feel is most important that we covered. So those two things, anything we missed that's top of mind? And if you were to prioritize what we went over, what are a couple top 2 or 3 things that you would find most important in the
I
community?
guess our first.
Go ahead,
I'm just
Richard.
gonna go with the numbers here.
Please.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Richard.
My first reaction, looking at this, is I think it's very optimistic.
Mhm.
My biggest concern is the county. There's 5 supervisors. You have to convince at least 3 of them to make all these ordinance zoning changes, and there's a ton here. Just kind of go back on what Mr. House was saying, and it's gonna take a lot of work. And we're going through this process, right? I mean, this study already is 2 years old, right? And we're just getting it kind of out the door. Okay, by the time we get through all this, we're maybe talking 5 years from now. Okay, if we get the county to move, 5 years, it's a long time here. Just think what's happened here in 2 years.
Right,
Canyon and over to EDO.
right.
Okay, and just think about Canyon. Okay, they went from phase 1 was supposed to be completed. They went to phase 2 and 3 in a year, right? Okay, so I look at this, this seems fantastic. I know a lot of people don't work on it, but I just think it's very optimistic.
You gotta start sometime, right?
EDO is an anomaly, however, it is not current development. This was approved in 2006. It stalled out in the recession in 2008. And the guy is now getting stuff built. There is no approval process. This is approved.
Granted, we are behind, but you gotta start some, this should have happened years ago.
Yep.
But it didn't, but you gotta start somewhere.
Well, I think you guys did a good job of including as many people as you could. It's hard to get groups together, it really is. And I think you did a good job of getting as many people together as you could to come up with an idea. You have to have something to start with, you're right. You gotta start, we got a starting place. And so, I think it's, I hope we can have some large community meetings in the fall, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Have
That's
one,
a-
town halls.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have
Mhm.
those
Right.
and really get some really good, quality, quantity behind it,
Yeah.
because, that's gonna be important in making sure it's got any kind of fitting with the board, the supervisors. The more that are in there, the
Well,
better. it's gonna be.
our strategy is basically to get some major stakeholders on board. If we can get the Rotary,
Buy-in.
we get the realtors on board, and then we can go to the community and say, hey, all these people are for it. So let's hear what you got to say.
And the only thing I would say is just stay north of 60, because generally south of 60 is Apache Junction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
we
playing
know,
right
we
now.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
this is being stressed in here,
That
except
would have
for
been the
one of
only
these
good
back
reason to
roads.
become part of Apache Junction, is you could have run people from the city council, city council to Apache Junction.
Just like
And change
Florence,
the way things got,
just like.
just like they did in Florence, just like they did in Oracle, they did it in different cities.
Yeah.
You could do it, but, it's too late now.
Yeah. Anyways.
And I think that's a key point. I mean, we talked about our core businesses, that this summer, while it's slower for them, we want to get those business owners that we talked about in sessions to get their buy-in. So then when we go to the public, if you will, with the town hall, we have their input, we can make modifications accordingly. And then that way we can be better served in the town hall, understanding that people they know and recognize as business owners and key stakeholders in the community have buy-in to the plan.
I just want to congratulate you guys. I was with you in the beginning. I know how hard you've all worked. Working with the county, I've been a outdoor recreation planner for 30 years and 40 years in outdoor recreation businesses. So I've had a lot of experience. And then with this county, I've noticed in the past that they look through a tunnel instead of looking at the big picture. And you have to look at 20 years down the line. So you're starting that now, which is great, because everything we've been looking at, we're reacting to now in the county instead of being proactive. So we have gotten major groups together. And we're all working together to look at this whole superstition region, not just here, but all the way around it, and protecting, just like you said, the conservation areas. But it's more than just talk. We have to have those key people at the table. That's the state land, number one. Number two are people like Charlie and Salt.
Yes.
And then you have to have your public land partners. And that's what we pulled together. We're trying to work on that. I really need to have Dale a little more active in our office. Because there's a lot of planning going on right now that's going to affect Gold Canyon and what's happening here right now. So without losing access to what we have.
Could we use you as a resource for connecting with
Absolutely.
the trust land? Okay, great.
Absolutely. Yes. And then fire-wise, I know the subject keeps coming up, but my goodness, this year is just a prime bed for fires to happen in this community. And you have one of the most pristine areas right above Superstition Mountain. It's never had fire in it.
Yeah.
So that's one area you really need to protect.
2 years ago, 2/3 of the superstition burned up.
Well, that, but not the area of the state lands right above Superstition has never been touched. So you have a lot of stuff going on here. But the time's prime to get with state lands now. And then start having those conversations.
This is like building an airplane as it's taking off. I mean, really, we're that far behind, but you gotta start sometime.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, any other comments? We appreciate any feedback.
I'll throw something else out to you guys. I know Terry knows this. I'm a wilderness ranger for the Temple National Forest. And I gotta tell you, one of the things this year, this season, is the fact that we've tripled the number of people coming out on the trailhead.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's even compared to pre-COVID times.
Well, here at Cloudview alone and Broadway,
Mhm.
they counted 80,000 people this year
Oh my
between
goodness.
October and April.
Mhm.
The count was 80,000. Wow, that's impacting your neighborhoods.
Yep.
too, so.
So-
So counts for Broader Trailhead or where?
Broke the trailhead.
Wow, triple, wow, that's amazing.
And we did about that number of rescues too. My point here is, we talk about the tourist piece and everything like that. Right now, we're not marketing any of that.
No,
It's passed through,
right.
right?
Right.
And it gives us an opportunity to maybe figure something out, to be able to try to get somehow some of those folks redirected. And come over to King Ranch Road, maybe visit our establishments there. Because right now, people out there, I mean, believe it or not, people ask me where the vending machines are. Okay, and I said, well, you gotta go to the Shell gas station, you know? Because there's like no way anybody knows about what's going on because they don't see any of that.
Right.
The at least with the hydroglyphics folks and stuff like that, at least they go down King Ranch Road, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that. The other thing, we talked about the Renaissance Fair. Right now, we are not getting any benefit out of the Renaissance Fair. A few vendors are,
Oh, vendors, okay.
right? For the Rennies
Like
coming through,
local
Shell
vendors?
gas station, Walgreens,
Oh, yeah.
right? Okay, but mostly we're just pass through again.
Right.
Okay, it'd be kind of nice if we could figure something out what the businesses, maybe the Chamber of Commerce or somebody. To try to figure something out so we could somehow get a percentage of that traffic off of 60.
I know, I was thinking some of the restaurants around here could offer discounts to somebody who comes in all their regalia or something, you know, that might, just that kind of marketing stuff isn't
I
happening.
was talking to Phil about that, and he was thinking about doing something like that. The real thing would be is somehow to get a flyer over there. Right, with coupons or something to get people, right, that are there.
Or on the website of the Renaissance Fair, that's,
Yeah, so, but.
I did see on that website, I meant to bring this up, on the Renaissance Fair website, it says that dining in Gold Canyon is subpar, not recommended, okay? So they spelled it out, they spelled it out in there, yeah. And I thought, wow, that's not
They want
nice.
people to eat out there, that's why.
Yeah.
They want people to eat out there.
Visitor center, right?
Yeah.
So that visitor center could be promoted,
I always thought a prime thing to me would be like the resort could add a Renaissance package. And maybe have a family come out, maybe the dad doesn't want to go, but the mom and kids could go and he could golf, sell those kind of packages. I don't know why they don't do that kind of.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can't go Canyon, get a booth over there. You got all those booths come up with some sort of a theme that they like. And be able to give away coupons, be able to showcase Gold Canyon.
It's not a bad idea.
And you might have to get dressed up a little bit. But, I mean, they want those booths built.
Right.
So if you can get them on the
But I think, well,
entrance or on the way out.
That's
And then-
something the Chamber of Commerce needs to really get involved
Yeah,
with. I mean,
right.
We're not the Chamber of Commerce.
So those people can see what we have here.
Yeah.
Right, that's a good idea. Yeah.
That's where you give away discounts.
All right, well, it's running late, so anybody online have anything? We still have 3 people online.
I've got a question. So if they put that gas station in here, what's gonna happen to that Gold Canyon sign?
It's being preserved.
The county.
Yeah.
I thought about that today.
The county has said they will pay and help move.
And
it.
move it, correct. Good question. Yeah, that was a must in there
Yeah.
to make sure.
One thing you asked a question, I've never seen a city, in all the cities I've seen grow over a 20-year span and 3 years. Never seen one ever get the roads right. No, I mean, they don't expand it right. I mean, look at, everybody can say that, we all know.
Well, it takes so
But
long.
how are we gonna stay ahead? I know it's on the plan, I get it, it's all.
Right.
But I mean, that's what kills every single city eventually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Dave Coward.
go ahead, Roberto.
Yes, a couple of things that we need to remind ourselves of is that we have a lot of talented people in our community. And while some of you have characterized this as too optimistic, I think it's a realistic long-range view but we need to enlist more help from the community, because we have in the past, as part of this planning, talked about the need for us to put together an action plan to follow these wonderful bits and pieces of what we've already put together. And so please encourage yourselves and friends to volunteer to help us. Planning and zoning has a critically important element on how successful we will be.
It also, I have to mention that having a plan is one thing, but making stuff happen from that plan is the next phase. And that's called strategic planning. So once we have a plan, then we need to work together as a community, develop strategic plans on how we're going to implement all these nice and wonderful stuff. I mean, that's the hard work that's down there. So, you know, this having a plan and just throwing out there isn't going to work. You know, once we get it out there and everybody blesses it and it's fine, then we have to, okay, how are we going to make this stuff happen? And that's the strategic planning part. And that's where the rubber hits the road. So that's the next hurdle we got. But first we got to all agree on, yeah, this is what we want. And then we go about figuring out how we're going to do it.
So everybody that took a plan with them, would you mind just on your sheet, I was thinking, Dave, on the sign-in sheet, one, make sure we have your information. And if we could just put an asterisk by your name, because I mean, that's great. We want you to take it and provide feedback, but we want to receive that feedback. So if in a couple weeks we could follow up with you, just if you have an initial, if you think that's enough time, you know, and we'll just do a check-in to stay in communication with you for your feedback. And as Roberto had said, if you have neighbors you want to, kind of get feedback from, then that way we can gain that from your email addresses, making sure we're circling back with you. Okay. Who took a book? Richard? Okay. Todd, okay. Mark. Corinne.
Did you want one?
Okay.
Okay.
Mark that
version. I remember giving that to you, right? Without the beautiful picture.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I will go over by the jail later.
Glenn, what did you put your hand up? I didn't notice.
Yeah, I just had about 4 questions, but one is the water. What was would the government, the governor actually banned, I think, that, and I'm not sure if it's groundwater, because I was up there today, actually, where Terry had mentioned, up there by the new development along, it was not Sleepy Hollow, but yeah. And I tell you, I don't think there was much planning there. They're sharing, looks like they're sharing wells between about 3 or 4 houses, but what's the limit? What's the governor going to do in that regard? I think I don't know if it's related to groundwater. I thought it was, but maybe not.
That was on that meeting.
The bank.
Yeah, that's the plan.
24.
I'm sorry, Glenn.
No. I'm sorry.
Were you able to hear that?
No, people are.
Okay. Well, I'll ask, or
send us an email with your question. We'll see if we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
What was it?